today we are going to discuss parts of a flower. Now, I just told you the main role of flower in a plant is that it ensures more plants of the same kind can be there. So that is the main function is reproduction. So how is flower responsible for reproduction? Tell me. Uh, do you grow any kind of vegetable at your home? Any kind of vegetable?
Yes.
None. So,
Yes. Ma'am, I have grown tomato.
okay, tomato. So you must have seen uh, tomato or pumpkin. Initially, you will see that it is always first there will be a flower, and once and slowly flower will become the fruit, and all its petals and everything, all other parts of the flower will just fall off, and the plant and the flower itself turns into a fruit. Fine. And you will also see that inside the fruit there are seeds. So a flower is responsible for reproduction because it has seeds inside. Okay. So what is there inside a seed? Inside the seed, basically there is a baby plant. There is a baby plant which can grow into a new plant. Fine. It is inside a hard covering to protect it from outer factors, and inside there would be a small baby plant which can grow into a new plant when it gets favorable condition. So we'll come to all that. First, let's learn what are the different parts of a flower, and side by side along with me you will keep on drawing. Fine. So if we see the innermost part of the flower would be shaped like a jug. Okay, this is the innermost part of the flower. This is basically the female part of the flower. It is called as pistil. It is called as pistil. And it has three parts. Okay, this is called as pistil. So it has three parts, which are the topmost part is called as stigma. Then the base, which is the swollen part, is called as ovary. And the middle tube-like part is called as style. Okay. All these three together, they are called as pistil, the female part of the flower. Okay. So the next stigma is sticky. The uppermost part of the pistil, which is stigma, is the sticky portion. Okay, I'll tell you why it is sticky. Then next part is, this is called as stamen. Okay, this is the male part of the flower. Stamen, it has two parts, basically the top, which is called as anther, and the base, it is called as filament. Both of them together, they are called as stamen. Now, if we look closely at anther, we will see there are small yellow grain-like structures on the anther. Okay, those small grain-like structure, they are called as pollen. They're called as pollen. basically pollen will contain the male gametes. There are special cells which are responsible for reproduction. Okay? So these special cells, they are called as gametes. And there is a female gamete and there is a male gamete. In humans, we also call them as sex cells. The gametes are basically the sex cells. When the two types of gametes, the male and female gamete, when they fuse together, they form a special cell which is called as zygote. Okay? When male and female gametes fuse together, they form a single cell which is called as zygote. Okay? This much is clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what we are doing is we are starting from the innermost layer of the flower and we are slowly going outward. So the next layer would, ऐसा नहीं है कि इधर सिर्फ दो pistil, you will find only a single pistil in a flower, but you will find many stamen. Okay, you will find, it depends from flower to flower how many stamens you will find. So the next layer will be of petals. Petal is the colored portion of the flower.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hanji.
Ma'am, can it be that in one flower there is only stigma and in another there is only a pistil?
Yes, very much possible. There are certain flowers. Flowers basically are of two types: complete flowers and incomplete flowers. So the complete flowers will contain both the male and the female part. Okay, so in the same flower you will find the male part also and the female part also. That is called as a complete flower. So rose is an example of complete flower. Means अगर आप rose में से देखना चाहोगे, if you remove all the petals and everything, you will be able to see the stamen also, you will be able to see the pistil also. But if you consider something like pumpkin, ठीक है, pumpkin में, papaya में, there are two types of flowers. ठीक है, one type of flowers will only contain pistil. One type of flowers will only contain stamen. So उसमें male or female flowers different होते हैं. Those are called as incomplete flowers. ठीक है? Okay. So after this whole we have started from the innermost part. So remove all the innermost. If we remove all the petals, we will find a round of stamen. Then if we remove all the stamen, we will find the innermost part, that is pistil inside. Each circular arrangement, they are arranged in a circular arrangement. That is called as a wall. So there are different walls in the flower. Okay, outermost, then the second layer, then the third layer. So the outermost wall is of these leaf-like structure. Okay, it is called as, you must have noticed it. It is very prominent in buds. जो आपके buds होते हैं उसमें mainly आपको यही दिखता है. These are leaf-like structure. Yes, these are leaf-like structure at the base of a flower. They are called as sepal. They are called as sepals.
Which part is anther?
Which part is anther? Anther is basically the topmost part of the stamen. I'll color it yellow. This part is your anther. This is anther. Fine. On the anther, you will find pollen. Okay, so this colored portion of the flower is called as petal. Petals, you will find they are very fragrant, they are colorful because they need to attract the insects, they need to attract the birds. Birds will come near flowers. Or Hanji.
Ma'am, this stigma, ma'am, you said that you will tell why this stigma is very sticky.
I'm coming to that.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
why are petals colorful? Basically, petals are colorful because they need to attract birds and insects. Okay, why do they need to attract birds and insects? Because I just told you that for seed to be formed, for to form seed, the sex cells, which is the male sex cell and the female sex cells, or the male and female gametes, they need to fuse. They need to meet. So how will they meet? Uh, Before we go there, let's see where are the female gametes. Female gametes are found in the ovary of the flower. Okay. So suppose look at the base. In the ovary, there are tiny bead-like structure. In the ovary, there are tiny bead-like structure which are called as ovules. These are called as ovules. In the ovule, you will find the female gamete. Okay. In the ovule, we will find the female gamete. Okay. Now, for a seed to be formed, this pollen, which contains the male sex cell and the ovules, they need to fuse with each other. Okay? This process, they need to meet with each other first. So this process is called as pollination. Okay, this process is called as pollination. When pollen gets transferred to the stigma, that is called as pollination. So how is pollination made possible? Uh, Pollen grains, whenever an insect will come and sit on the plant, the pollen grains, they are sticky in nature. They will stick to the legs or wings of the insects. Okay? And next, whenever that bird or insect goes and sits on another flower, the stigma is very sticky. So all the pollen grains which were sticking to the legs of the insects or birds, they will now stick to the stigma. That's why it is sticky in nature, so that pollen grains can stick to it. Fine. So once that happens, another process called fertilization will take. Okay. Right now, let's stop at pollination. Means the pollen grains will get transferred to the stigma. This process is called as pollination. Okay, coming back to our outermost world. Somebody is unmuted. Please mute yourself.
Tanika, please mute.
Okay, so sepals, basically what would they do? These sepals, they protect the petals. Okay, because we know that petals are very soft, they are very fragile. They can easily break. So when the flower is still a bud, these sepals are very hard. They protect the bud, fine, from any kind of damage. So in the bud stage of the flower, the sepals will protect the flower. Now, the base of this, from where we hold the flower, that is called basically called as pedicel. That stalk from where we hold the flower is called as pedicel. Now, everybody clear with all the parts? Pedicel, sepals, petals, stamen, and pistil.
Miss, we have to draw this, right?
Yes, you have to draw this.
Yes, ma'am. I have drawn this, but it has made make little messy.
I'll send you the screenshot so you can try drawing it neatly. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Or I'll share the video so that you can look at it. Because see, I have a space constraint. I'm doing it on a mobile screen. So I had to do labeling on both the sides. To make it neater, no, what you do is always label on one side of the diagram. Okay, so now let's have a look at the video I was talking about. So now let's look at all the parts. This is all theory that we have studied. Let's look at all the parts. How would they actually look like in a flower?
And sizes. They range from tiny green ones to brightly colored blooms. Flowers also have an important job to do. They produce seeds for reproduction. They also carry the structures that are necessary for pollination. The Rafflesia is the world's largest flower. Its diameter is about 91 centimeters. It grows in Indonesia. It has no stems or leaves. It grows on other plants as a parasite. It is also the world's smelliest flower. For pollination, it attracts flies by producing the smell of rotting flesh. The parts of a flower. Most plants have the male and female organs in the same flower. Most of the flowers have either a long or a short stalk. The parts of the flower are arranged in rings or whorls around the stalk. Sepals protect the flower in the bud. They are usually green. The beginning of a flower or leaf is called a bud. The petals are larger and are mostly arranged like a ring. They are usually brightly colored to attract insects. The petals may either be separate or joined together to form a tube. The male organ of the flower is called a stamen. Stamens are made up of anthers on top of stalks called filaments. The pollen forms inside the anthers. The female parts are called the carpels. The top of the carpel is called the stigma, which traps the pollen. Below this is the style and the ovary is inside. The seed is formed in the ovary. Pollination. When pollens from a flower are transferred to the stigma of another flower of the same type, pollination takes place. For example, pollens from a tomato flower can only pollinate another tomato flower. Generally, insects like bees and butterflies carry pollens from one flower to another flower. Sometimes the wind also brings about pollination. After pollination, the ovules form the seeds, and the flower slowly turns into a fruit. The bright color of the petals or the scent of the flowers attracts the insects. At the bottom of the petals are tiny cups called nectaries, where nectar is produced. Insects enjoy feeding on nectar. As the insect lands on the flower to feed, its body gets brushed with pollen. When the insect visits another flower, the pollen from its body sticks to the stigma of the flower. The flower then gets pollinated. It can now begin to make seeds. Did you know flowers come in all shapes, sizes, and color, but they all make seeds in similar way? Some plants flower throughout the year, like rose, hibiscus, and sunflower. Some plants flower seasonally, like saffron, tulip, and balsam.
Dissection basically means cutting open something. Okay. Somebody is still unmuted. Please mute. Structure which is there at the base of the flower. Okay, she is removing the outer.
Ma'am, your voice is coming a little low.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm saying right now she is taking out the sepals, the green portion at the base of the flower. It protects. So now what she is taking out? Tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Petals. Now she is taking out the petals. Now she has taken out all the petals. Now she is opening the style. And now she is removing the ovary, which is the base of the pistil. This is the ovary. If we open the ovary, what will we find inside? Ovary. When we open the ovary, we will find tiny small bead-like structure which can be easily seen using a microscope. Okay, they are called as ovules. Look here closely. These yellow ones, and these are the topmost part of the stamen. Okay, you can see a red color, thin red color filament under them. Okay, there is
Yes,
a
ma'am.
colored filament, and on top there is a yellow colored knob. This is this whole together, the filament and the topmost knob-like structure called anther. Both of them together are called as anther. Okay. This yellow part will produce the pollen, which is the male gamet. And this red thick structure which you see, that is called as pistil. I hope you have understood all the parts of a flower and how to draw the diagram.
Ma'am, the time is over.
I know. So you can go for your next class. Thank you.